I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, May the 2nd, where it's a doomsday deal out there. I tell you what, when it rains, it pours, and the losses just keep mounting in this cattle market and at every level of production. I saw a Twitter feed from one of the guys I follow there that I thought really rung true. You know, we started the year out, this calendar year, at 123. And then we spent over 4 months just clawing and scraping and had the worst winter ever, the worst weight loss ever that we've ever seen in the wintertime feeding. Just loss of weight, loss of head count, this, that, just the worst time feeding cattle ever. And clawed and scraped and gained $5 or $6 there, and then lost it all back in a week. And that's kind of the way it goes. It's just like beating your head against the wall. But I tell you what, and the Packers were calling around on Wednesday. After they come in on Tuesday, everybody knows they need cattle. They're stepping their chain speeds up to the highest they've had them all year long. And coming in on Tuesday to buy cattle that they normally wouldn't buy till Thursday or Friday under normal conditions, but sure, they need cattle to keep things going like they are, making money hand over fist, and then spreading the gospel of Doomsday around on Wednesday, telling everybody how bad it's going to be. Oh, this is a bad deal. Oh, we're not going to be able to hold a dollar on these fats and all this stuff going on, and as if people don't know that things are bad. Yeah, they know it's bad enough, but all the while trying to get as many of their needs covered all the way through the summertime, through the worst of the market conditions, with the heaviest of the numbers of market-ready cattle. They're trying to get as many of their needs covered all through summer as they can, wanting to buy cattle out front. The farther out, the better. And then we have a lot of these people that normally sell negotiated, which there's not that many of them, and several of them taking the bait. And some big outfits taking the bait, selling most all their cattle for the foreseeable future here. And if you see that, it makes you kind of wonder if they don't know something that we don't know. You know, the loss of equity in this cattle feeding industry over the last several years has forced everybody to hedge or contract. It's about the same difference, but everybody betting against the market, pushing down with a heavy push down on your futures prices, just makes it hard to ever kind of maintain any kind of a market position. I heard a guy quote me the other day, just kind of looking at the reports that the CME puts out, that at least 75% of cattle that are being fed are hedged. I thought it might be higher than that, but it's just everybody's got to do it. The lending institutions will not work with them if they don't hedge. And like I say, they've lost a lot of equity, so you know, they might all still be driving brand new pickups, but if they had to cash in their chips, they wouldn't have near as much coming back from the teller as they would, you know, in years past. And that's just kind of the way it goes. But we saw a lot of cattle traded on Wednesday on the first day of May for month's end, and then a lot of them further out beyond that. And I don't know if you guys that are watching this RCAF lawsuit I don't know if you can prove collusion on the deal, but it sure does seem like they're all thinking the same thing, and like my dad used to say, they're all shitting through the same hole. But let's talk about the board on Wednesday. June live cattle futures down 37 cents, 113.87. That's our spot market, 113.87 now. August down 80 cents at 110.97. May feeder cattle down 22 cents at 141.37, and August up just 7 at 149.22. Now I've kind of led you guys into talking about what this fat cattle deal is. You know that we saw trade in the Southern Plains at 123, which was $3 lower on Tuesday there, selling sharply lower on a Tuesday. Things are kind of upside down, aren't they? We saw some significant trade, although you couldn't see it by any voluntary market reports through USDA Market News. That's the service you guys pay for and rarely ever quotes any kind of trade at all. But we did see some significant trade in western Nebraska, Colorado, Wyoming areas at 124 on Wednesday. That'd be mostly $3 lower there. You know, we've seen some trickling of trade in our predominantly dressed market at $2 so far this week, and that would cover a lot of eastern Nebraska and Iowa and places like that. But Fed Cattle Exchange sold some cattle on Wednesday morning there, about 800 head plus there, 122 in Kansas, so that kind of shows you how things are going, because they could have got a buck better than that the day before, 123 in Colorado. But I tell you what, the pressure is just insurmountable. But heard a lot of guys talking about most of the bids that were out on Wednesday were for the end of the month, the end of May. It's funny, it's the first day of May, but they're trading for the end of May, and bidding from 190 to 193, mostly for Memorial Day week. We come off of that Memorial Day demand and get into Memorial Day week. They're wanting to secure some cattle to keep that holiday week kill going. But you know, that's a lot lower than what we're getting now. 10 bucks at the most than what your dressed market is now. But actually, if you look at it, that 190 to 193 is really better than what your June board is quoting. And so that's another reason, makes me think maybe these packers know more about what's going on than what the rest of us do. Maybe there's some news to come out of China. You think? We haven't had any news to come out of China for a while. The latest we had heard that it's possible that we could get 30 to as much as 40% loss of their breeding herd, sows over there in China. And then we hear guys that talk about, you know, if it's in that 40% range, that's more hogs than the Western Hemisphere produces. And so, you know, I talked to a couple of guys, you know, it would be a heck of a thing if everybody sold out here this week on a down market and caved into what the packers were offering, and then they come back next week and find out that China has lost over half of their breeding stock, and the local people over there are afraid to eat pork. Then where would they fill in there? That would turn things on its ear quite a bit. Not saying that that's going to happen, but I'm saying there's a reason out there that they're trying to secure so many cattle down the road at lower prices, of course, but still better than what the board is quoting, and better than what we think it might get to if you look at the way things have gone the last week or two here. But I tell you what, been tough. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on Cattle Market Central on Wednesday afternoon sitting at 142.39. That's down another $1.10, and I tell you what, it's pretty tough around. OKC West, El Reno, Oklahoma, 7,200 head on Wednesday. That had about 1,600, a little better than that on Tuesday. So 9,000 or better for the two-day sale for the weekly feeder and stocker cattle auction there. Talked to John Cooper, auctioneer there. Always gives me a fair read of the market there. He said, of course, he's up there selling them. He knows better than anybody. The feeder steers, he said, sure look $3 to $6 lower. Feeder heifers $2 to $4 lower. If you're watching the quotes come through, you can kind of see that. You look at this market report on Cattle Market Central, and you look at the different weight ranges there. You notice that's just Wednesday's sales, so you're not seeing any calves quoted in there much at all, just an odd one here or there. But you see how much lower we are, and I would say he got a pretty fair reading of the market. If you look at the change there with feeder steers $3 to $6 lower, and feeder heifers $2 to $4 lower. Just a week ago, we were on a down market, and I told you guys that it was kind of hard to get a flat 800-pound, not one head, but a load of them to bring 150, and it was hard to get some flat 900-pound steers and a big bunch to bring 140. Today, just a week later, it's tough to get 140 on a load of light 8-weight steers, and it's tough to get 130 on light 9. So You know, maybe the trends were a little harder than what they are. Maybe they're $10 lower, but I tell you what, it is dropping fast. A lot of places didn't have many sales because folks were kind of spooked to the market a little bit. Winter Livestock, Dodge City, Kansas only had 1,500 with all classes tested. They're fairly light. They did quote $2 to $5 lower on those that were on hand, and that was mostly on feeder heifers. A couple of individual quotes that were outstanding on Wednesday, but wouldn't have been outstanding not too long ago, but still a pretty good market for the way things are. Huss Livestock Market in Kearney, Nebraska, 51 head of 627-pound stocker steers bring 167.50. And in Torrington Livestock Markets in Torrington, Wyoming, they had 100 head of 855-pound steers bring 149. That's your feeder flash for Thursday.